The boy had wandered down a dusty back alley after school, his backpack dangling from one shoulder and his mind buzzing with thoughts of games and snacks. But fate had other plans. There, half hidden beneath a crumpled newspaper, lay a bundle of fur so small it fit in the palm of his hand. The kitten's fur was matted with dirt and blood, its breathing shallow and ragged. Dark stains spread across its white chest, and its eyes were half closed, glazed with pain. Any adult might have walked past, dismissing the tiny creature as one more forgotten victim of urban life. Yet the boy knelt slowly, every movement deliberate to avoid spooking the kitten. His heart thudded against his chest. He whispered soft words he barely understood himself, words of comfort he had heard his mother speak to their pets. Drawing nearer, he felt a wave of adrenaline and terror collide. What if the kitten lashed out? What if his touch caused more harm? Yet the quiet bravery that lives in the heart of every child surged forward. Gently, he scooped up the warm, trembling form, feeling bones so fragile they seemed to float beneath his fingertips. In that instant, the world seemed to tilt. The alley noises faded, replaced by the frantic rhythm of his own thoughts. Where to go, what to do, how to help something so tiny and broken. He sprinted down the street, the kitten cradled against him like the most precious treasure. He burst into his home, startling his mother in the kitchen. Her eyes widened as she saw him, a boy clutching a small bleeding kitten. Time stretched as she took in the scene. The pale face of the kitten, its shallow breathing, a thin ribbon of drool at the corner of its mouth. "Mom," he gasped. "I found him like this." Water ran over tiny paws, gentle and warm, as they washed away dirt and grime. The boy watched, heart pounding, as his mother worked with calm precision, applying antiseptic to a deep wound on the kitten's side. Each drop of liquid hissed on contact, and the kitten let out a soft wail. Suddenly, the room felt too small. Every second stretched into an eternity. The boy felt helpless, torn between wanting to do something and being frozen by fear. He squeezed his sister's hand, finding a flicker of courage in her steady grip. They carried him to their car, each moment a race against time. The boy's mind swirled with questions. What if the wound was too deep? Could the kitten's leg be broken? Is it too late to save him? The world outside seemed to blur as they drove down winding roads toward the veterinarian's office. Every bump in the road sent a fresh jolt through the towel-wrapped form in his arms. He knelt in the back seat, head bent close, murmuring words of reassurance, words he hoped would somehow stitch together the failing threads of life in that small chest. Arriving at the clinic felt like stepping into a different universe. The antiseptic scent, the soft whir of machines, the hurried conversations of veterinarians. Everything pointed to one urgent goal: save this little life. A kind-faced vet greeted them, her eyes gentle but serious as she took the kitten. The boy felt his chest tighten as they placed the critter on the examination table. A hush fell as the vet examined the wound, her gloved fingers probing carefully. The boy pressed his forehead against the window, willing the seconds to pass faster. The vet stepped back, meeting their anxious gazes. "He's in big trouble," she said quietly. "He's lost a lot of blood, and there's a risk of infection. But I think we can save him." The boy exhaled a shaky breath. A flicker of hope ignited in his chest, warm and bright. "What can we do?" his mother asked, voice trembling. The vet outlined the plan. Immediate surgery to stitch the wound, antibiotics to fight infection, and weeks of careful care. The boy nodded, resolve hardening in his heart. He would do whatever it took to keep this life flickering. They left the kitten in the vet's capable hands and returned home, the house strangely quiet without the painful meows echoing in their ears. That night, sleep eluded the boy. His mind raced with images of the kitten alone under bright lights, his small chest rising and falling under a flurry of activity. Guilt and fear gnawed at him, but also a burning sense of responsibility. He whispered a promise into the darkness. "I will not let you die." At dawn, he was at the vet's office again, pacing the hallway, heart pounding with every passing minute. "He's stable," she announced as soon as she saw him. Relief washed over him like a tidal wave. He almost sank to his knees. The kitten was alive. There was more to come. Pinning him down for medication, watching for fever spikes, ensuring he ate enough to build strength. But that first victory felt monumental. Slowly, they brought him home to a small, quiet room they prepared with care. Soft blankets, a heated pad to keep him warm, a shallow dish of water, and tiny bits of kitten food. The boy lifted him gently from the carrier, noticing how weak and small the kitten still was, yet alive. Over the following days, the boy transformed his life around this tiny being. After school, he rushed home, backpack dropped forgotten, to check the kitten's temperature, to coax him to eat, to stroke his fur when the nightmares would come. There were nights when the kitten's cries pierced the darkness, a chilling reminder that death could still be lurking. The boy and his parents would gather around, wiping tears from their eyes as they comforted the fragile creature. They debated over every drop of water, every gram of food. Each small decision felt like the balance between life and loss. As the kitten's strength grew, a transformation took place. His eyes opened fully, revealing a green so vivid it seemed to glow with gratitude. His steps, once unsteady and painful, gained confidence. The boy watched in wonder as the kitten stretched his back legs, flexing muscles that had once been too weak to bear weight. He initiated play, gentle, tentative paw swats at a piece of string the boy dangled. Each small movement was a victory, a sign that hope was not misplaced. The bond between them deepened with each purr and tiny headbutt, weaving a tapestry of trust between a rescued life and the child who saved him. Yet, as Whisker's body healed, the boy faced a deeper internal conflict. How to share his life with this new, fragile friend without losing the freedom of his childhood. He felt a sense of guilt when he left for soccer practice, worried that Whisker would be lonely. He worried when friends invited him to late-night games, thinking of the kitten waiting at home. He found himself torn between responsibilities he had never considered before, and the impulsive joys of being a child. Each time he stayed home to administer medicine or clean a wound, he felt a pang of envy for friends who were free to roam. Hidden threats of doubt whispered. Was he ruining his childhood? Yet deep inside, he knew that caring for Whisker was teaching him lessons no game or toy ever could. One afternoon, as he sat on the porch with Whisker curled in his lap, he overheard his friends talking about an upcoming weekend camping trip. The excitement in their voices stirred something fierce in his chest. He wanted to answer them, to shout, yes. But he hesitated, glancing down at the kitten curled against him, purring softly. What would happen if he left? Who would make sure Whisker had his medicine? A pang of panic shot through him. He realized with painful clarity that his life was irrevocably changed. In that moment, the boy's mother emerged, watching him with gentle eyes. She put her hand on his shoulder and said, "Sometimes love asks us to grow up faster than we expect." He looked at her, realization dawning. Caring for Whisker was giving him something precious, the chance to learn responsibility, compassion, the unspoken language of trust. He would still be a kid, but he would be a different kind of kid now, one who understood the fragile beauty of life. He nodded, making a silent pact with himself. As weeks turned into months, Whisker's transformation became undeniable. His fur grew shiny and thick, his injured flank bearing only the faintest scar. His eyes sparkled with mischief as he chased sunbeams across the room. The boy watched with pride, remembering the hollow-eyed creature he had found that day. In return, Whisker followed him everywhere. At breakfast, waiting impatiently for scraps. On the porch, sunning himself. At night, curling at the foot of the boy's bed. A warm presence guarding his dreams. But life is never without new challenges. One evening, the boy noticed Whisker limping. Panic surged through him, the old fear storming back. He scooped Whisker up and rushed him to the vet. The diagnosis was a minor sprain, but it was a reminder that fragility never completely fades. As they waited in the sterile room, the boy reflected. Whisker had taught him resilience, but life would keep testing them both. He had to be ready, always ready to face whatever came next. Yet he no longer trembled at the unknown. He leaned back, taking a steadying breath, finding peace in the knowledge that he and Whisker would face tomorrow side by side, no matter what challenges lay ahead. Later that night, as the boy sat at his desk working on homework and Whisker slept at his feet, he thought back to the day it all began. He remembered the wavering weight in his arms, the faint breath that could have been the last. He remembered the fear, the uncertainty, but mostly he remembered the choice he had made, to care, to hope, to fight. He realized that this story was not just about saving a kitten. It was about the power of empathy to rewrite destinies. It was about how a single act of kindness could ripple outward, transforming not only one life but an entire community. He closed his eyes and smiled, knowing that Whisker's purr, soft and rhythmic, was a promise. A promise that love given freely would always find its way back. He understood that stories like theirs remind us what it means to be fully alive, to confront fear, to embrace vulnerability, and to let compassion guide our hands. And as the moonlight filtered through the window, casting a gentle glow on Whisker's sleeping form, he felt a sense of peace settle in his heart. In the weeks that followed, the local community began to whisper about the boy and his miraculous rescue. Neighbors would stop by, offering food and gently congratulating him, as if the boy's act had ignited something else, an awakening of compassion in everyone who heard the tale. The boy felt a mixture of pride and discomfort. He had simply acted on instinct, yet now he found himself a symbol of hope. His parents smiled, proud yet cautious, guiding him gently through newfound attention. For the boy, each kind word meant more than applause. It was a reminder that when we step forward for the weakest among us, we stand for a greater good. One rainy afternoon, the boy walked Whisker along the cracked sidewalk, a makeshift leash fashioned from a ribbon. As they passed an abandoned lot, he noticed another cat, larger and uninjured, leering from behind a broken fence. The sight triggered a memory of fear. Past encounters with stray animals could be unpredictable. Whisker hissed, arching his back. The boy held his breath. Would this cat attack? But instead the stray cat paused, tilting its head, eyes locking with Whisker's. In that moment he saw a silent understanding pass between them. Two beings once strangers, recognizing a shared vulnerability. Back home, as the boy wiped muddy paws and dried Whisker's fur, he pondered the lesson. True healing reveals courage hidden beneath pain. He thought of friends who had suffered in silence, bullied classmates, lonely neighbors. If a scraped leg and a gentle hand could restore confidence to a kitten, what might a comforting word or small gesture do for a hurting human heart? His mind buzzed with possibilities. Organize a small fundraiser for shelter pets, volunteer at the local animal rescue, or simply check on a lonely neighbor. Each tiny act, he realized, could echo the rescue that had transformed both him and Whisker. One evening, as the boy practiced his math homework at the kitchen table, His father entered with a newspaper. A photo of Whisker stared back, captioned, "Local hero. Kitten saved by neighborhood boy." The boy's cheeks flushed. The article recounted the rescue, the surgery, and Whisker's recovery. It quoted neighbors describing how the story had inspired donations for the animal clinic. Parents at his school whispered that he was a hero, a label that didn't sit easily on his shoulders. Yet he recognized that the real story was not about him, but about the quiet bravery that lives in all of us, waiting for a reason to emerge. As spring blossomed into summer, Whisker's playful energy became contagious. He chased sunbeams across the floor, leaped for dandelion seeds floating in the backyard, and curled around the boy's ankles like a living garland. The boy would glimpse him and feel a well of joy rise in his chest. But joy now carried a reminder. Life was precious and fleeting. Each pounce, each tiny meow was a sacred gift. He decided to document the journey, photographing Whisker's progress, from a fragile ball of fur to a majestic, mischievous companion. He shared these images with friends and neighbors, weaving a visual tapestry of hope. Midway through summer vacation, an opportunity arrived. A contest at school for short essays about unforgettable life lessons. The boy hesitated. Sharing the story publicly felt like peeling open a tender wound for all to see. Yet he recognized that his experience held power. With a deep breath, he poured his thoughts onto the page. How the kitten's eyes, wide with pain, had stirred a courage he never knew he possessed. How caring for Whisker had taught him responsibility, empathy, and a connection to so many lives. He described nights spent whispering promises into the darkness, and mornings filled with the softest purrs he had ever heard. When he read his essay aloud to his classmates, he saw tears glimmer in their eyes, a sign that vulnerability can bridge hearts in ways nothing else can. But as with any journey, darkness crept in. Whisker, ever faithful, began to exhibit strange behaviors. Fits of lethargy, intermittent fevers, and wincing when jumping from low perches. Fear slithered back into the boy's heart. Had the initial injury weakened Whisker's immune system? One afternoon, he held Whisker to his chest, silently pleading, "Not again. Please, not again." The vet confirmed a secondary infection. The boy's resolve fractured for a moment. He felt the familiar ache of helplessness. Yet through sleepless nights of administering medication and warm compresses, he remembered the vet's words. Resilience is more than a moment. It's a series of choices. And so each day he chose to stand tall, to cherish Whisker's purrs, to believe in the next dawn. Eventually, through careful nursing, Whisker triumphed again. The boy watched as the kitten's eyes brightened, his purr returned, and his paws pawed at exhaustion. The victory felt sweeter than before, tempered by an understanding that life's tests rarely arrive unannounced. The boy learned that resilience is not a one-time feat, but a continuous choice to stand when life tugs you down. In that realization, he found a quiet confidence that would serve him long after Whisker's fur turned silver with age. As the seasons cycled, Whisker grew older, each passing year visible in a dusting of gray whiskers and a slower, more deliberate walk. The boy, now on the brink of adolescence, watched Whisker with a bittersweet tenderness, knowing that their time together was finite. He recalled the day he first found Whisker, fragile beneath a newspaper, and marveled at how far both of them had come. He decided to share their story on social media, tracing their journey from rescue to enduring companionship. His words traveled farther than he ever imagined. Strangers wrote to him, saying how their hearts had been changed by the simple act of kindness. He realized that empathy can transcend screens, locations, and differences, weaving a bond between souls who might never meet in person. In reflecting on his journey, the boy, now a young teen, recognized philosophical truths woven into the simple narrative of saving a kitten. He saw how empathy could transcend age, culture, and circumstance. He saw how responsibility could teach one to prioritize life's quiet duties over fleeting desires. He saw that love was not merely affection, but a commitment to stand by someone through fear, pain, and uncertainty. And he saw that grief and joy often danced intertwined. To experience deep love is to be open to deep loss. These realizations guided him as he helped classmates facing challenges, comforting friends in need, and volunteering at the local shelter. He carried with him the lesson that every life, no matter how small, holds infinite worth. When Whisker finally took his last breath, curled at the foot of the boy's bed on a late autumn morning, the boy held him close, tears tracing silent paths down his cheeks. He whispered a gratitude-filled goodbye, feeling every heartbeat that had once been nothing more than a frail echo under his palm. In that instant, the boy understood that life's greatest gifts often arrive wrapped in hardship. The finality of Whisker's departure shattered him, yet within that sorrow glowed the memory of every purr, every gentle nudge, and every lesson learned. He realized that endings, though painful, also reveal the depth of love that once was. Months later, as he walked through the local shelter, memories of Whisker coursed through him like a guiding light. He knelt to comfort an anxious puppy cradled in a volunteer's arms and felt the familiar spark, the same spark that had drawn him to Whisker under the newspaper. He realized that love offered no guarantees, but withholding love guaranteed emptiness. He adopted another kitten, small and wary, and as he held her, he knew he was ready. Ready to face fear, ready to invest his heart again, knowing that whatever pain might come, the gift of connection would always be worth it. And in that act he honored Whisker's legacy. The belief that one act of compassion can change worlds, one life saved, one heart opened, one community awakened. If his journey teaches us anything, it's that the smallest hands can cradle the heaviest burdens, and a tender heart can ignite a flame of hope that outlasts the deepest darkness. So now when you hear that faint, pleading meow, will you listen? Will you pause, even for a moment, to wonder what courage and compassion might achieve? If you feel moved, if you believe in the power of kindness, if you want to witness more stories that stir your soul, hit subscribe now and join us on this journey.